Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new theory and speculation video. Today, I want to talk about the false sky and the shade of death, both of which seem to be very important to Natlan. The recent 5.1 Archon Quests gave us a huge amount of lore, so I want to dive into what it could mean for the future as well. Also, this video does contain spoilers for the quests listed on screen now, so if you haven't done those, you have been warned. With all that said though, let's get right into the video. In the latest Natlan Archon Quests, released in version 5.1, we finally learned some information about the Shade of Death. Known by her demon name, Renova, we learned that she was heavily involved in Natlan's past. She guided the Lord of the Night, whose name I would absolutely butcher if I tried to pronounce it, in creating the Night Kingdom. This allowed Natlan's ley lines to be reconstructed, and for the nation to have some protection against the Abyss. Renova even knew Xbalanque, the very first Pyro Archon, and lent him her power. He would use this power to establish the rules of Natlan, allowing humans to become Pyro Archons and starting the traditions of the Pilgrimage and the Ode of Resurrection. Those who ascend to become the Pyro Archon would also be granted knowledge and memories of the land through the Sacred Flame. Using her power would come at a price though, so Renova and Xbalanque came to an agreement. They agreed that those who used her power would eventually have to die. If the Heavenly Principles were to find out, she would simply deny her involvement and claim that her powers were stolen. Unfortunately, her actions in helping Natlan were considered to be overstepping her authorities as a Shade. It displeased the Heavenly Principles, which caused her to feel self-pity according to the Lord of the Night. As such, she no longer cares if others discuss her identity. You see, the Shades prefer to remain in the shadows, and they don't like anyone talking about them. Renova is the only exception to this rule, and it explains why we've heard next to nothing about the four Shades as a whole. Now, in these Archon Quests, we also got a taste of Renova's power. During the climax of Act 4, Mavwika used it to deal the final blow against the Abyss to win the battle. However, this attack had an unintended side effect. After the blast destroyed her enemy, it kept going with just as much power, eventually hitting the sky. To the surprise of everyone watching, it actually ended up blowing a hole into Vat's false sky, revealing the true sky behind it. The hole quickly patched itself up, but evidence of the event still remains. The mysterious shattered celestial object can actually still be seen in Natlan's sky after you finish the Archon Quest. However, if you travel outside of Natlan, you won't be able to see it. Now, there are a lot of things that I want to talk about regarding this cutscene. Why do the edges of the hole resemble the power of the unknown god? What is that mysterious object and what does it mean? How was Mavwika able to break through the false sky in the first place? First, let's focus on how Mavwika was able to punch a hole through the sky. In my opinion, she was able to do this because she temporarily possessed the power of Renova, the Shade of Death. Since a Shade is far more powerful than an Archon, it would make sense for a Shade's power to be able to do this. Still, this brings up the question of why the power of a Shade was able to break through the false sky. Well, I think it's simply because the false sky was made by another one of the four Shades. As for who this Shade is, I think it could potentially be the unknown god, but I'll talk about her a bit more later on in this video. Either way, only the power of a Shade would be able to break through the creation of a Shade, and no lesser power could ever hope to even scratch the false sky. Think back to Fontaine, where Focalors had to accumulate 500 years worth of indemnitium to destroy her divine throne. She had to match the power of her divine throne in order to destroy it, much like how the power of a Shade is able to blow a hole in the creation of another Shade. So then, what exactly is that mysterious object beyond the false sky? Well, I believe it could be the corpses of one of the Moon Sisters, Aria, Sonnet, and Canon. Two of the sisters were said to have died, while the corpse of only one sister continues to illuminate the night sky. This shattered object could very well be one of the other corpses, hidden away long ago by the Heavenly Principles. As I said earlier, you can still see this object in Natlan's sky after finishing the Archon Quest. Interestingly, the stars actually pass in front of it, showing how it's located beyond the false sky. Moving on now, I want to take a moment to focus on the 4 shades themselves. With this Archon quest, we might finally know who all of the 4 shades are. Before I go into them, I want to mention the theory that states the 4 shades and the heavenly principles align with the 5 artifact types. The shades would be the Flower of Life, the Plume of Death, the Sands of Time, and the Goblet of Void, while the heavenly principles would be the Circlet of Reason. So far, the shades fit with this theory, so let's talk about each of them. The Shade of Life was first mentioned in lore relating to Fontaine. She has the duty of creating life, and she helped the heavenly principles create animals, plants, and humans. After the Hydro Dragon was removed from the Primordial Sea, she created Egeria to function as the Primordial Sea's new heart. The Shade of Death, Renova, is the latest shade we have heard about. As I mentioned earlier, she helps Jabalanque establish the rules for Natlan and assisted the Lord of the Night in creating the Night Kingdom. The Shade of Time, Istaroth, was the first shade we learned about by name. In the past, she was worshipped in Mondstadt alongside Anemo Archon Barbados. She was also worshipped in Unconomia before the era of the Sun Children. Additionally, she was very likely involved in Ryan Makoto's plan to create the sacred Sakura. Finally, the Shade of Void is technically unknown. However, I did say earlier that I believe the unknown god could very well be a shade. Given what we learned in these latest Archon quests, I think that it's very possible that she could be the Shade of Void. The edges of the hole in the false sky are strikingly similar to her powers, meaning she could be the one who created the false sky. Power over void, or space, would definitely fit with her hiding the true sky. In the very first cutscene of the game, she refers to herself as the sustainer of heavenly principles. By hiding the shattered moon behind the false sky, she is sustaining the will of the heavenly principles. She also heavily resembles Kiana Castellana as the Hersher of the Void from Honkai Impact 3rd. The reason we haven't heard more about her during our journey could simply be because she's a shade. The Lord of the Night said that shades don't like being mentioned by name by any living being, including the 7 Archons of Teyvat. This would explain why none of the Archons have told us anything about her. This quest could also help explain her role in the opening cutscene. She may have stopped the twins from leaving Teyvat because the Heavenly Principles knew that they would be important in Tevat's future. The cube she used to trap the twins would transport them inside Teyvat into the world within the false sky. The temporary breaking of the false sky leaves the future of Natlan uncertain, even more so than it was beforehand. As I said before Natlan released, this is the 6th of Tevat's 7 nations that we have visited on our journey. In my Natlan Mega video, I predicted that we would get a lot of important lore in this nation. Honestly though, I'm surprised we got lore as big as this so soon. It really makes me wonder what we'll see in 5.2 and 5.3. If I had to guess, I'd say that version 5.2 will be more of a calm and peaceful update. Natlan still has to recover from the war, while preparations still need to be made for the final battle against the Abyss. Version 5.3 would then be where things get real, with us traveling to face the Abyss alongside Mavwika. We could even get more lore than we got in 5.1, which would be absolutely crazy. We will likely learn more about what the Shattered Moon beyond the false sky truly is, and we could even learn more about the Shades as well. Perhaps we could even meet a shade face to face during these quests. At the end of the 5.1 quests, we learn that Renova was the one who sent Capitano on his path, likely referring to his curse. As such, he may want to meet with her or even fight her for her role in the Conrian disaster. The Loom of Fate was also brought up a few times during 5.1, which makes me think we could see the Traveler's sibling during Natlan's story. If this happens, we could also learn more about Conria. Capitano already told us quite a bit, so there is definitely room for more. All of this is to say that there is definitely a lot of potential for Natlan's remaining story. There is sure to be a lot of lore, and I can't wait to talk about it all. Anyways, that's pretty much it from my thoughts on the False Sky and the Shade of Death. Natlan's Archon quests have been absolutely amazing so far, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. If you want more of my thoughts in the future though, I recommend my videos on Demon Gods, Durin of Dragonspine, and my Natlan Mega video. I would love to hear what ideas you all have for the False Sky and the Shades in the comments below as well. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Sources and further readings are also in the description if you want to check them out. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.